Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Blaze Bell Show. This week we are talking to Valerie Howard. I love her. She is an intuitive brand and business coach and a soulful website designer. Also, her Instagram page and her Instagram stories bring me so much life every day. So please enjoy all of this biz info from Valerie Howard. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today we have got Valerie. I am so excited to be chatting with you today. I think of you as the branding queen, and I know you are an intuitive business coach, branding coach. You've got a podcast. You do all kinds of work, and I'm just happy to have you here today. We've been Instagram friends for quite some time, and I just love following you. You just bring so much freshness and light, and also a lot of real, vulnerable shares, and I just really appreciate you. So thank you for being here
Oh,
today.
that's so sweet. Thank you for inviting me. I'm super happy. Super
Yeah,
happy to be here.
absolutely. So I started this podcast when the pandemic hit because I was struggling a lot with the uncertainty and financial things and just the whole world crashing down. And I've got a bunch of healing tools in my back pocket, and I was having a hard time. So I thought, if I'm struggling, someone else is too, maybe a lot of people. I talked to a lot of women who decided to start their own business during this time, and it finally kind of had the time and space and motivation to move into some of their other dreams, or really saw the potential of online business. And I think that was a beautiful thing for me. Now the majority of my clients don't live where I live because we all got so
Mm.
used to working on Zoom and online, and it was like the world was open up. So the world of possibilities. So I think that with your type of business, it's always been that way. So I'd love to just hear, how did you get through that time? And this time we're still kind of in it. And what did you see as far as like your business and other women, coming to you?
I think when it first started, there was like lockdown. It was really becoming this global thing. The women, mostly, I work with women who are starting their businesses. They're just getting that traction. They're just getting they have this idea on their heart, but then like they still need clarity and some direction, and they're looking for the next right step. So the women who reached out to me at that time in particular were women who were like wondering, like, okay, what do I do with this? Like, how do I make sense of this? And what it really came down to, I know for me in my own business, was grounding myself in um my core why, like my deep deep why of like, why do I want to do this? Like, who am I trying to help, and what like impact do I want in other people's lives? Like, what impact do I want to leave on this earth when I'm gone? Like, so it got really deep. um and it's like they say your why should make you cry. Like, it should be so moving to you. And I believe in two whys. Like, I think there is a why for you. What do you want to experience and create for yourself? Like, what life do you want? But also a why for the world, a why for the people you are working with and impacting. So for me, and what I worked with a lot of women on, especially at that time, was like, how do we get grounded into our why? Um, and then from there, look for opportunities to serve, to show up. And for some women, for some entrepreneurs, it meant like pivoting a little bit. For others, it was like, okay, launching their business in a completely like unconventional way, even a messy way, even like this is far from how I would normally do it, but I'm just going to try it out like this. It was like, start before you're ready, like in all caps, so it was like getting a little scrappy, I think, too, in just and creative and resourceful and just how we show up and how we find the clients, help people. Social media, so there was a lot of creative thinking, and in a weird way, like some goodness, a lot of goodness that came out of that because, it for a lot of people, it was almost like a reckoning. Like, it was like their, like, sort of come to Jesus moment, right? It's just kind of like, what do I want with my life? Like, is this making me happy? There is more to life than what I'm doing. And that is like the most powerful place to be.
And I know you work with a lot of service based entrepreneurs. So I'm sure you got to see a lot of really heart opening moments from the people in your world. And even me starting this podcast, it was something I wanted to do for so long. And I was pushed into that. Like, I mean, no one was paying me to do it. It was just fully like, our world needs help right now. How can I do my little part? Like, what can I do? And so that piece of the creativity and a lot of businesses pivoting and I'm on a board of directors where I'm like the events planner person, and that was just like thrown out the window. It's like no in-person events. Okay, how are we going to do things? And so I think just all over the board was just so much chaos and then into like creative thinking and I think some brand new things that are going to stay the course now that reinventing some wheels that needed to be reinvented. So I think there are some beautiful things that came out of this. So I love what you said about your why. And I hear people talk about this a lot, and just very basically, what is your why? But I've never heard anyone say your why should make you cry. And I really appreciate that. I really like that. Would you share with us like what your personal and outward like whys are?
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that I believe, like, for me, it's changed. It's like fine-tuned, evolved as I have grown, and I think that's how it should work. Like, what resonated with you 10 years ago, like, probably won't resonate with you now, you know? So, like, my biggest why, like, for the women I work with, for others, is just helping them remember who they are. Like, it's like drives me to wake up in the morning to just be like, I'm not convincing you of your magic and your power. You are fucking powerful. Like, it's this exchange, this experience of working together is about helping you remember that. And um yeah, and from there anything's possible. And so it's like that is my biggest why for others. And for myself, that changes all the time. And yeah, and it's something I'm actually like I've been thinking about a lot lately. So it's interesting you would ask me that because I've been doing a lot of soul searching lately. The why I used to have doesn't really move me anymore. And I'll admit, like, because I come across this a lot. Um, my why for myself, it was hard to get down deep. It was, like, so surface for so long and so, superficial for so long, and there's nothing wrong with material stuff, right? Like, having the beautiful car, having the beautiful house, like, nothing's wrong with that, but it's almost like those are secondary, like, things are just things, so it's because I feel like there have been stages in my life where I've had those things, and my experience has been they do not bring you joy. So, that's like to 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 base your why in like having a life that looks a certain way that's like I want a house with like x number of bedrooms and a car like this and like a this and this and it's like all things like that is going to fall apart really fast. It just yeah, so I as I'm getting older now have reevaluated and so much of my why is honestly in returning to well, I guess it's also remembering who I am, but having like this deep, deep level of self approval and self love. And the more that I can deepen that, it's like that feels like I'm returning home. That feels like I'm fulfilling something. Um, and it just feels so purposeful. So that's my rant on that, but more to come. So,
Yeah,
it's, and I do want to reiterate that point for anyone listening. It's like your why, whether it's like what you want to, achieve for yourself or help others achieve, it can change and it should. It's something you should look at, on an ongoing basis.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're hopefully always evolving. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And me 10 years ago, like, I don't even want to go there. What she wanted is probably something that would make me sick today in my life. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're always changing, growing, evolving, learning, changing our beliefs, which can shift everything. And so, absolutely. And I think, too, when we talk about the surface level things, the fancy purses and the this and that, it's like, that's cool, like, get it, but that's not going to be a why. That wouldn't make me cry, that would just be like,
Right.
ooh, cool, I'm rich, and it wouldn't make me like my whole body have that feeling that I get when I think about a legacy, when I think about helping my community and women and changing their lives on like that internal level. So I absolutely love that. And your why for helping women remember who they are. I am so aligned with that. I feel the
Mm.
exact same. It's like, remember who you came here to be. Remember who that spirit is underneath all the crazy layers of where this human life takes us. And I think we all have times where we get lost and lose ourself. And I have a past in addiction and trauma, and I know you've suffered loss in your life, and all of those things can really mess with our brains. Some can truly rewire our brains into a new space that we don't want to be in, and thankfully we can rewire it back. But there's just, being a human is so challenging sometimes. And I think that we all go through stuff. So having someone like you that's going to create the safe space and help, ask those right questions that help lead someone else to remember who they are, what they really want to do while they're here, and start working through those layers on top that probably aren't serving us anymore. So I think that's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you said that beautifully. That's exactly it. And it's something to look at and to change. And something else that I'm reminded of, it's because I come across this a lot. It's once we like identify where we might be struggling or feeling imperfect or stuff, the inner stuff we want to work on, whether it's like, the trauma, the loss, that is like, I believe inner work is like where it all starts. It's the most important thing you can do in this lifetime, is just like just address and not even address, but have that self-awareness, right? About like, what are you feeling? What are you going through? Where did this story originally take place? And how can we begin to rewrite that story and really empower ourselves? But once we start that path, it can feel so overwhelming. And so something else that you know, um, that I like to remind my clients and anyone I work with, it's just, you can be or feel like a hot mess and still be wildly successful. You can still have all of the inner, like, you could be in the like trenches of healing all your shit and still be wildly successful, fulfilling your soul purpose, doing the work you're here to do. So I love to remind myself that too.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's something I just recently have been thinking about, although I like the way you put it. But I thought about that because I was really suffering from anxiety last month, and in a way I never had before. And I could pinpoint exactly why. And it was just like the buildup of too many intense things all at once. Like, if we could just spread out, the hard moments, please, so I can process them. But all of a sudden I was going through all of this, and something I realized in the process was I could go through something really hard in a level I've never even experienced and still show up as a good mom every day and still follow through on all my obligations and still even show up for my clients and be a great coach and be, turn off my mind and use my intuition and be a vessel to give them the messages that they need that are still helping them. And that was such an important lesson for me, because I
Mm.
definitely in the past have thought, I can't be a life coach if I don't have it all perfect and figured out. Well, none of us ever will. So, it's
Never. Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Or even the idea of, you have to be like high vibe every moment of every day in order to attract wealth, or, things like that, where it's like, that's definitely not true, because there's some really grumpy old men that are like billionaires. It's not about
Thank you.
being in
Yes.
a perfect space every moment of every day. So anyway, like I could probably ramble.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we could talk forever just about that topic because it's just like I have dealt with that too, where I'm just like, I have a money block. And because of this money block, I can't attract wealth. And it's like, well, what if I could do it even with my money block? Like, what if that's possible? Like, yeah, I'm working on it, but in the meantime, like, let's just keep it moving. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I started thinking too of other, analogies of just like what if a great doctor or brain surgeon like gets a cold or gets sick, does that mean he's a bad doctor now? No, he still has the skill set. He's still, it's like everybody goes through things
yeah,
to change your ability. So, anywho,
100%.
I love that. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about your life? Like, I think what connects us, I think there's been such a lack of connection, and it is so beautiful when someone can open up a little bit more about who they are and something they've been through. Not that I am encouraging you to like lay it all out there and get dramatic, but I mean, just what led you to the work you're doing today, and what's something you feel like you could contribute to someone else who's listening who may be going through something you've been through in the past that you're a few steps out of. That's like, think of that girl and talk to her right now, and like what advice you might have.
Yeah. Oh, so much to say. So I started out with the mindset, like growing up and going into college and all of the things of like more traditional, conventional thinking. Like that was like kind of like my parents were always like, you're going to go to college. And my dad has a career in education. My mom was a nurse. Um, so they gave me a lot of opportunities and it just felt like I didn't want to waste it. Like I just had to like maximize my potential and the opportunities they were affording me because not everybody has that. So I definitely like, I don't know, just chugged along as like a lot of people do from like college to jobs to internships to graduate school, like just trying to figure out like what, where do I fit? Where do I belong? And also like what will make me money? Like how can I find a career and a job? So thankfully I didn't veer off too far from what the stuff I love to do. I studied communications and marketing and branding. And my background though, like my real career was in water and power, and which is so random. But I stayed there for a long time and I moved up the ladder and I was like running the whole like communications department. And I mean, that was actually a really kind of amazing job for a lot of reasons. But the one thing that I really took away from it was like, for me, was like, I could learn about these like infrastructure projects and it made me feel like if I could learn the in and out of like water delivery systems and power and like, all of these like random kind of like esoteric, like crazy things, like I could learn anything. So, it just kind of empowered me. And from there, I had sort of like an awakening when that's what I call it. This is how I tell the story. When I was like 30, and by that time I had, I was making a really good salary. I had all of the things. I had an expensive condo and the sports car, and I was just so unhappy. I was just really unhappy. I hated my condo. I just got it because I thought I should. Um, and so sort of on a whim, but it was like a divine inner calling. Like it was just a soul directive that I sold all my stuff and I moved to Paris and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And it was kind of amazing how it kind of things fell together where I had clients not in France. I never had a client in Paris, but I had clients like here, stateside, like, and somehow was able to kind of work from Paris. And again, it was like an example for me that I could work remotely or make money in unconventional ways. So I was collecting these examples as I went along that really served me as I grew my sort of consulting business, which is where I started off. Um, and somewhere along the way, honestly, like I know exactly how it happened. Actually, it's like I would get these big corporate clients for marketing and branding work. This was after I quit my job, sold everything. I moved to Paris, and then I came back, and I just started like finding clients. And sometimes I send in proposals. Other times I would just talk up the owner of some business, or I would go to networking events and meet somebody and talk to them about branding and marketing. And sometimes I'd get the job with the company, sometimes I wouldn't. But what started happening is I started having these conversations with the owners, these individuals, men and women who had a dream or like something that they wanted to do. And they were just like scared almost like, oh, I have this crazy idea. I just like, yeah, I have this company, or yeah, this is what we do. But like, I really have this other passion. And that was where I got super fired up and excited. And I knew because there was something inside of me lighting up with these conversations. Like, I wanted them to know it was possible. I wanted them to know like they could absolutely do it. I didn't have all the answers, but I wanted to help them figure it out. And that's kind of how it started. So I started shifting my own like model or whatever business model of like working with companies, although I still have some of that, moving into just working with like individuals, like the awesome of like solo entrepreneurs, people who are starting their business and really like they're just like we said, like remembering who they are and discovering that they can do this thing. So that's been like really I mean, like in a nutshell, kind of how I started and who I work with. Did that answer your question? I feel like there was more as you were giving me the prompt that I wanted to talk about, but now I forgot because I just like went on my tangent.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a beautiful like understanding of your business life. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd love to hear more too about like what you're offering now. Um, but I think the other part of my question was any struggles or like personal things that came up that kind of threw you off course now and then. Um, and that if there's someone else going through that right now who's like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this and get to the other side.
Yes. Okay, so the way I told my whole story sounded like super like fluid and like easy. Like it was not like that. So I will say that as I discovered, like, oh, I like talking to these types of people about these types of problems, and I think I can help them. I didn't know how I would even do it at all. So this is something that I find is super common. I've come across it a lot. It's like you're starting to like discover this passion, this interest, this like calling almost like a nudge, but the practical aspects, the strategy, the like logistics of how you're going to like do the thing is it can be super murky. So it's like how do I build that? Like, how do I even, what do I charge? Like, do I have like what kind of questions do we have? Like, do I ask? Because I remember even my first like coaching call, I was like Googling, like, what, like, how do I do this? Because I came from more of a consultant background. And I remember like writing down like 3 questions I got off Google. It was like, tell me the best thing that happened to you today, or like the worst thing. It was like your wins and your losses or something, like very coaching 101. So I didn't know what to do. And I just want to say that's one point. It's okay. You figure it out as you go. I promise you'll figure it out. If and it's exhausting. It's tiresome. You can get help. But, and I have a lot to say about that too because I like spent so much money really trying to find someone to show me how to do my business. When probably I could have just like hired a coach or two and just really taken more action and experimented on my own. I could have saved like thousands and thousands of dollars, so that's part of it. But yeah, it's going to feel you might feel anxiety. My biggest like stressor was when I would talk to somebody I would meet and we would like connect and have like a whole vibe. And then they would ask me, like, well, send me a proposal for your coaching services. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know how to do that, and it was so stressful. And I would wait like a week before even emailing them. So that's like my first thing. It's like, it's okay if you don't know what to do. Um, you're good. You can figure it all out. You're not doing it wrong. Um, and then the other part is like, as I got more momentum, I feel like the first like easily 5 years of my business was like full of like start stops, like false starts, full of false starts. At least that's how it felt to me. So it was like I would, it was just like I was constantly spinning my wheels, is how I remember it. I was so tired all the time, not really sure what I could do to move the needle in my life and business, where I could finally say, okay, well, now I have a business. Here's like my revenue. Here's my business plan. Here's, like all of the things they tell you you need to figure out. I honestly believe in a more intuitive business approach to business and branding where you don't map it all out. However, the mapping out can serve a purpose when you're feeling super stuck because that is how I have used it in the past and I can use it with clients still, where you can put a plan down if that's going to help you take the next step. If that's what you need to take action, beautiful. Like, but you don't need it. If you're listening to yourself, if you're asking for the guidance, if you're tuning in, and really paying attention to what's lighting you up and like the messages you're getting from the universe, because the universe is always talking to us, like that's when things happen. So so much to say. Yeah, so it's you won't know what to do next. That's okay. The false starts, feeling like you're taking one step forward, two steps back, also okay. That's normal too. And I think those are the biggest like experiences I had. Yeah, and one other thing I'll throw out there, because we kind of touched on it, it's that, having a bad day or going through trauma or going through some kind of bad experience, it doesn't make you less of a coach or less of whatever it is you do. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. I really believe if you are doing the work you're on this planet to do, you're doing your soul purpose. And I don't think we all have one soul purpose. I feel like it's whatever your soul is calling you to do in any given moment is your soul purpose. And if you're responding to that call and showing up, like there is nothing that you can do, nothing that can happen to you, no circumstances, no bad days that can disqualify you from doing that work.
And I think it's really important to remember that when you're starting your business, because you can do a lot of things that feel like mistakes. You can do a lot of things that feel like wasted energy. You can spend money and you can feel like it's a waste. That's just, you're in like this big experiment, this big discovery process, and you have to give yourself grace and just like keep the faith, hold the faith that you have this calling on your heart for a reason and you are being guided. And there's like really no way you can mess it up in the big picture unless you just decide to stop, unless you get out of the game completely.
Yeah. Yeah. We always have that choice to stop. And I think, that's the interesting part of this life is like, there's always choices in front of us. And what are we going to do? And, I love the emphasis on intuition. I think for some of us, it can take a while to get to a really secure place with listening to ourselves, depending on what voice we have in our head. But I've just had this discovery of like, I no longer make decisions from my head or my heart. I make them from my gut. Like my gut rules and it will inform all my decisions. And it's like our body seems to know more than the rest of us, like more than our mind. And because, I'll be presented. Here's an example. It's totally not business related, but it's one that's come up a lot. Say, well, no, business related. Here's one. I used to have a promoter, 'cause I'm a singer, and who would reach out a lot. One, with all these like, I'm gonna make you a star, and we're gonna do this and this and this. And every time, even a text message from this person, I would instantly get a stomach ache just looking at it. And everything he was saying was super positive, really dreamy, and then we went out to coffee one time to talk more, and I thought I was gonna throw up. Like my stomach hurt so badly the whole meeting, yet he was saying all these great things. He wasn't saying anything creepy, but my body was like, get out of here. And what I think animals, they're so good at like, smell fear, run away. They don't hang out to go, oh, well, I really want to be nice to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. How can I help you? And our brain will do that, especially if we've been trained to be a people pleaser. And then all of a sudden we've got this full docket of work that is stuff we don't care about. I mean, it's obligations. We're trying to be nice. And I think that's a strongly female thing too I've come across is like, just be nice, don't raise your voice. I've worked with so many clients that are like meek, mild adults, and that's not who they are. It's like they were trained to be. So anyway, that intuition, those gut feelings, once you really start to like tell yourself to start paying attention, that will tell you so much about. And again, like this person that I was talking about, this promoter, the message isn't even that he was a bad guy. The message to me is this is not in alignment with me right now. Maybe in 10 years it would be, and so this is applied to friends, to situations, to a lot of opportunities. So I think just really starting to listen to our bodies is huge. So huge.
It is so huge. And I love that you said that. It's like not about making him bad or wrong. That is like the biggest thing. It's like, because I'll say this, it's like on your journey of like stepping into your power, stepping into remembering who you are, not everyone can come along for the ride. So this applies especially to like old friends or old relatives, people you love who are so good, good hearted. Maybe they're just not in alignment with you, and to the point where you start feeling nauseous or you feel that like knot, in your chest and that tightness. And like, you have to honor that. And it doesn't mean there has to be drama. It doesn't have to be a dramatic, like, cutting someone out of your life forever. Like, I think those are powerful indicators and signals of like, oh, this person, let's put some distance there. That might be good for me. And what's good for you at like a soul level can't be bad for other people. Like, I don't believe like there's a win-lose binary here. We're all here to like really step into our own power. So I love that you said that. And I also apply that to, just for any listeners, anyone they follow on social media. And it doesn't have to be that this person is wrong or bad, but if they follow like a friend or an influencer who maybe at one point they found inspiring, let's just say an influencer, for example, like, but now whenever they see that feed in this, because I hear this a lot and I've felt this, there are a couple of people who, whenever I see their stuff, there's just such a feeling of comparison. There's a feeling of not enoughness. I feel almost overwhelmed with how beautiful and polished and just constant they are, like consistent on social media. None of those things are good for me. And I start feeling just like icky. Sometimes it's just ickiness. So being aware, even at that level, of how your body is responding to what you're coming across and tuning it out, unfollowing, muting people. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a good example for the world we're in today. And also, again, that it's not about making anyone else or any other situation good or bad. It's just about, this isn't right for me right now. And those influencers, there's still people out there that are totally motivated and lit up. And then there's a group of people that are turned off, bothered, triggered, and that's fine, and that's going to ebb and flow. So yeah, I love that. I think it's really important for people to understand that it's okay to step away from things. It's okay. And knowing that sometimes when your gut or chest or whatever is telling you no, it doesn't mean the person's straight up evil. It just means
Right.
It's a better opportunity for them and a better one for me over there. So that's okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you. I mean, this has been so much great information and so many great ideas, especially for other women that are on a similar path. And so I would just love just to kind of wrap up, like, what are you doing right now? I'll make sure there's links for all the places to find you and follow you. I love following you on Instagram. I love your Instagram stories. You share a lot of fun things.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so what are you working on right now, and how can we work with you?
Okay. So, because I have like different projects in the works. So I'm like, what should I talk about? But I think what's the nearest and dearest to my heart right now, the thing I'm the most excited about is my mastermind, because I just have this dream and this vision of like creating this container for women, and not a lot, just like something really intimate and really powerful. And I've been in a lot of masterminds, so I'm excited to bring the best parts to this one and also do things that I kind of wish I had before. So it's kind of like me taking the best of everything and like creating the mastermind I wish I had. So I'm really, really excited. So more to come, but if anyone, I think I have a wait list link on my Instagram bio right now to check. But whatever, DM me, follow me, find me. That is in the works. So
awesome. I love that. And I love mastermind type containers, because not only are you learning from a mentor you really respect, but that can be so much magic in the people that show up at the same time and learning from each other and connecting. It's really beautiful. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very, very excited.
Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for taking the time today. And I just really appreciate you sharing all of this.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Let's continue this conversation in the comments, and for more healing resources, please visit blazebell.com. You are worthy, you are loved, and I am so, so grateful for you. See you next time.